It's the Young Opinion Leaders. And with that, I'd like to first introduce Laia Garrido. She is the International Officer of Jóvenes, Ciudadanos, which nurtures the young talent of Spain's Liberal Party. The Liberal Party in Spain is called Ciudadanos. Laia, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for having me here.
And also joining us, in this case, coming to us live from Jordan via Zoom, is Saed Younes. Saed is a trainer, speaker, author in capacity building, entrepreneurship. He is the founder of the Saed Younes Academy, a podcast host, author of 2 published books. Saed is followed by more than 3 million people online. Or his YouTube channel reached 90 million views. That's just incredible. We have 2 very talented young leaders to tell us each of what it means to be, not just a young leader, but the challenges that the youth faces on both sides of the Mediterranean. Perhaps we start with you, Laia. What are the main challenges for the European youth, for Spanish youth?
I think young people in Europe, they have opportunities and they have challenges that probably are pretty different from the region of the Mena. As opportunities, I would say that we live in strong democracies. So we have a space in Europe to organize ourselves, to express ourselves, and to reivindicate our needs in our society. We also have strong welfare states. So for instance, we can go to public education, public health. So many things that still need to be improved, but some basic needs are covered and allow us that once we are adults, we can actually start our life with a pretty important basis that maybe in other regions it's not achieved yet. However, we still have huge challenges in Spain and in the rest of Europe. I mean, right now we're in the second biggest crisis that our generation has lived in only 10 years. So we had the recession in 2008, and now we have the coronavirus crisis that will affect us hugely. I would say our generation would be the most affected. And maybe this is translated to the employment area. So in Spain right now, we have about 35% unemployment. But the thing is that we don't only have it now with this specific crisis, but for the past 15 years, we've been having unemployment among youth between 20% and 35%. So that means that 1 of every 3 young people in Spain, and also in other countries in Europe, they don't have access to the labor market. And not having access to the labor market is not only a thing of an income, to have money in order to pay your bills, but it's about not having a space in the society. Because if you have been trained and you have been given the hope that you would be going to university or to vocational training, and then you would contribute to the society from your profession, and then this moment arrives, and actually there's no space for you, you feel pretty much left out. And this is a reality that we live right now in Spain and in many countries in Europe among youth. And this is a problem, an economic problem, a problem of inclusion of young people into the society, but also a social problem. Because at the end, we have people that they have to postpone their adulthood. Our Spanish people, we have to postpone our adulthood. Before, when you were 25, you could already leave home and start your own life in your own home, maybe with a partner, maybe alone, create a family, create professional plans, personal plans. And right now, this whole story, this whole dream, this whole planning has been postponed. And currently in Spain, for instance, and in Portugal, we have about 60% of the people between 18 and 35, they still live at home. So imagine. And
that is incredible.
They don't have an income to start their own lives. I mean, all their dreams, all their plans are postponed. And this is a huge challenge in Europe. It's a huge challenge because we see that we had this problem with the previous crisis. Right now, people that were starting to have unemployment, to start having a certain salary, certain conditions, they've been again turned into unemployment. So again, their dreams being postponed. And at some point, we have to question as well, is this a matter of a crisis or is it maybe a structural problem? And do we maybe need to rethink our education model, our labor model, maybe we have to rethink all these things, because apparently we will have many more crises coming up, and we cannot keep on postponing indefinitely the dreams and plans of young people in Europe.
No, that seems very clear. But before we come back to you and get a little more detail on what is happening in Spain and that 60% that still live at home, let's turn to Saed Younes. Saed, thank you so much for joining us. It is naturally a pleasure to have you here. You probably already heard what Laia explained to us what's happening with the problems that the younger generations in Europe are facing. How does that echo in the southern part of the Mediterranean? Are you dealing? Are the younger generations in the Mena area dealing with some similar issues? What are the most pressing issues in your neck of the woods?
Yes, thank you very much, and it's a really pleasure to be here and to join you today. Well, yes, part of what has been said actually reflects here, but I mean, me personally, I work closely with individuals, and I focus more on the empowerment of individuals. And over the years, I've noticed that actually the main challenge that faces the youth here has three basic elements. So number one is mindset, and number two is tools, and number three is environment. So one of the biggest challenges that faces the youth here is actually mindset. The mindset to think in an entrepreneurial way, to not wait until you get employed in a governmental job, to not wait until your turn comes to create your own opportunity. Because obviously, in this part of the world, economic opportunities are scarce. When you live in a service-based economy with not much of industrial activities and production going around, you need to think outside the box, but not the cliche that is always being told that, yeah, you need to think outside the box. I mean, you need to first understand the box, understand your circumstances, your reality, the rules of the game where you live, and then you start thinking outside. How can I improve more? So yeah, we do have challenges facing the youth here, and now with the crisis that is global, I mean, everywhere you will find challenges. Here I found that actually those challenges have urged more young people now to start thinking seriously about creating their own opportunities instead of just waiting. So I do see that in the coming few years, it will have its positive effects after we obviously recover from the current setback of the global crisis. But in the coming years, we will see improvement in the way the youth deal with their challenges.
Well, Saed, I think I'm certainly curious, and I think a lot of our viewers would be too, whether it's in the coming years, but even now in the present. When you mention, of course, a lot of MENA area survives on the service industry or its natural resources, and of course we're all very savvy about that. So what sectors of the economy are actually being open or need to be open in the MENA area for the younger generations? And to that, I will add, of course, there are big differences in terms of demography. The population in the MENA area is growing significantly faster than the one in Europe, and especially among the younger crowds. And it has to do a lot with job creation and the emancipation at the end of the day. So yeah, again, what sectors of the economy are opening up for the MENA area?
Mainly, we are talking about the sectors that depend on the internet. So the internet has given people more access to more markets, global markets, and now young people are finding more opportunities. We find growth in e-commerce. We find growth in online education. And anything that can be scaled up by using technology and the internet. And the good thing about this is that it gives equal opportunities for everyone, and you can compete obviously on a much global stage. But then we have the challenge of language and culture barriers that first you need to overcome in order to be able to compete on those stages. And also we are witnessing growth in some manufacturing and some industrial sectors that these days are related more to the health sectors and medical equipment and pharmaceuticals, but we are talking more of on a country level or on a national level. But when it comes to the youth, I do see a lot of interest actually in media, social media, and learning how to market and sell, because marketing and sales, these are very essential skills to any entrepreneur, because you cannot really thrive unless you learn how to present yourself and present your ideas and products in a presentable, in a smart way. And therefore, we do need also to focus on those soft skills that are naturally being neglected by programs and training initiatives that target the youth. So they do focus on some aspects, but they really forget the essential skills that the youth need, and they need with also the high demand on those skills these days. So we do really need more focus on such skills.
And is that the same or similar case in Europe, Laia? I mean, what sectors of the economy are opening up for the up and coming, the future of Europe's economy, after all? And what sectors need to be open? Of course, there's a lot of, the cyber world, but what's in it for us?
I would say many of the challenges that he was mentioning among the young people can also be translated to Europe. I mean, definitely entrepreneurship is something that is still a must in Europe. We don't have enough entrepreneurs, and I think it goes back also to the education, that we're not teaching our young people to be entrepreneurs, to have those skills in order to create the solutions for the problems of tomorrow. And that's definitely a must also to be done in Europe, in Spain, and I think that's something we have in common. When we look into economic sectors, I mean, in the south of Europe, and especially also in Spain, we also depend very much on services, on tourism, and on types of economies which employment, unfortunately, is not that much of a high quality and doesn't require much skills, which further contributes to the precarious labor market of the young people. So there definitely needs to be a shift in terms of improving the quality of our tourism and our services, but also investing more in other economies that may create more value and more better jobs also for the young people. Definitely the digital sector is an important one that is growing. As he was mentioning, it's an industry that is growing, especially in times of coronavirus, but it was already growing before. I just think the coronavirus has speeded up this process, but it was already growing. We also have other sectors that in Europe are very important. For example, the health and the caring economy. We have a growing and aging population in Europe, and there's definitely still a lot of improvement and a lot of an economy to grow around it. During the coronavirus crisis, we've seen how the elderly homes of people in Italy, but also in Spain, have suffered a lot. Our system has broken down, and it's definitely a system that needs to be redesigned. So I definitely think also that in the next years around the caring system and the elderly economy, there's a whole economy to be growing in the future besides the digital one. And then we have other challenges in Europe and in the rest of the world that need to be considered, like the green economy. I mean, definitely that's something that we're becoming more aware. And in Europe, there's also we're not only aware among people that are working in the system or activists. I think people in civil society are becoming more conscious that the environmental degradation is a reality that is already hitting our homes. We've seen huge floods all over Europe. We've seen a lot of environmental instability that is not anymore happening abroad, but it's also happening at home. And I think this is an economy that is starting to grow, but definitely will speed up in the next years because of necessity.
Yeah, the green economy. You mentioned also healthcare sectors, naturally the digital sectors. Sounds a lot like what you were saying, Saed. And a lot of what both of you are saying seems to resonate on both sides. Are we working together? Are the Euro-MENA area working together? And I don't mean the big head leaders and all those old guys and women making decisions for all the younger crowds. I mean, are the young generation on both sides of the Mediterranean working together?
I think there's still a lot to do.
We need to think about this, and we need to give it more attention. But I do think that people are now, or mentality of the youth is changing, and the world as we know it is actually changing. When you look at the MENA, you don't think of one big region, as was mentioned earlier today, this morning, in the opening remarks, that we have a lot of diversity amongst our countries. But from my experience as a Jordanian, working closely with Europeans and traveling also constantly to Europe, I do find that we have a lot of similarities, and we do have a lot of common interests that we can utilize and we can focus more on in the coming years. So the good thing about the internet and the globalization is that now young people are able to communicate on a larger scale. And we do see it with the online, with the digital economy, that yeah, young people in Europe and the MENA region are connecting. And despite the differences in the systems, the legal systems, the legal frameworks, and some cultural differences we do have also a lot of common interests and common cultural aspects as well that we can utilize to actually bring us closer in the coming years.
Laia, what do we need to work? What do we need to improve? And with that, I'll keep you to a short answer because we have a question for you coming online. Yeah, what can we do to improve our young communication?
I think we have great opportunities in front of us. We live in a digital era. Our generation is very much digitalized. However, maybe we're not using it enough. The information that we get from the region of MENA is often through news. It's very much screwed. It's very much based on national interest and what they want you to know about the region. And I think there's definitely a lot of work to be done in order to exchange more our realities. But our realities not screwed like I'm saying, but the real realities. I think through the digital means that we have, social media, there is a space that we can use in order to exchange more our life experiences, our needs, our desires, our hopes, the future we want to envision, and how we want to reach that vision. And I think in that aspect, there's a lot to be done. Besides that, I would say it would be also interesting to have more exchange programs between both regions. In Europe, it has been key. A program just like the Erasmus program, I think is the future of Europe. It's a very specific program, but it encourages people from different regions, from Spain, from Greece, from Germany, from the Netherlands, to travel for 1 year, for half a year to another country, integrate and live that reality. You create a sense of community. You realize what the reality of young people are abroad, but also how many things you have in common. If we could also encourage that between different regions, I think it could only be positive.
Well, there you go, Natalia.
It's very interesting, actually. And I had 2 questions, but first, Javier Rodenas is asking, how is Spain going to invest in young entrepreneurs when it invests as a country so little in R&D? For both of you.
Well, let's hear from both of you, but let's try to keep it short because we do have the Iranian documentary, the interview. Yes, R&D investment. Is that something beside having an Erasmus equivalent for the cross region? Is R&D also a target sector?
I think it's a very important question that was just made, and it also is related to the previous one that you were saying about what economies do we want. In Europe right now, we have this amazing platform, which is the European Union. We have the different governments, and I think there needs to be much more collaboration between the countries in the EU in order to create an economic strategy, a regional economic strategy. It is not enough that here in Spain we invest in R&D, but I think at the European level we would need to think about what economies do we want to have in Europe. Economies that create quality employment, that promote entrepreneurship, and I think in that direction R&D is definitely a sector that needs to be invested more for many reasons. For an economic reason, for an employment reason, but also for health reason, for future, to ensure a future for all of us. If we don't invest in investigation, how are we going to find the solutions that we need for the future that we have in front of us?
Certainly. Saed, give me your 5 cents about this, R&D.
Long-term thinking and teaching the youth to start seeing far in the future, as the famous saying goes, that we always overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what we can achieve in 10 years. If you look at yourself, any individual, with the beginning of each year, we do have those big New Year's resolutions, big plans and ambitions for 1 year, but then we don't achieve any of them, and we never look forward to think what we can achieve in the next 5 or 10 years. And that exact mentality also is reflected on the economy. If we start showing young people the benefits of long-term thinking, of research, of investing in research, despite the fact that you might not see the results next year or in 5 years, but that doesn't mean that this is not important. This is not a great investment in your future. So, of course, R&D is a very important aspect. Research and development is one of the sectors that I find growing in my country, in Jordan here, because we do have great talents, we do have great minds, and we have limited resources. But when it comes to thinking and researching and planning, we do excel in some sectors. So I find a great focus on it, but we still need to educate people from the school of the importance of investing, research, development, and how this reflects on the long term. And this is in the good interest of everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Saed. Thank you so much, Laia. We will be talking to you again very shortly for that quiz show. Have you seen the questions yet?
Yes, I've checked them.
Well, there you
Very
go.
interesting ones.
Laia has been cheating on that. She's seen them before I have.